is as follows. Nigerian women came to America and became wild. Igbo, Massachusetts accountant wrote in one post. It was an unpleasant truth, but one that had to be said. What else accounted for the high divorce rates among Nigerians in America and the low rates among Nigerians in Nigeria? Delta Mermaid replied that women simply had laws protecting them in America, and the divorce rates would be just as high if those laws existed in Nigeria. Igbo, Massachusetts accountant reminded her, "You've been brainwashed by the West. You should be ashamed to call yourself a Nigerian." In response to Eze Houston, who wrote, Nigerian men were cynical when they went back to Nigeria looking for nurses and doctors to marry, only so that the new wives would earn money for them back in America. Igbo, Massachusetts accountants wrote, "What is wrong with a man wanting financial security from his wife? Don't women want the same thing?" After that Saturday, Auntie Uju asked Ifemelu, "What do you think?" He uses bleaching creams. What? How are the central ideas of the work conveyed in this particular extract?
Okay, so this extract is talking about how women coming from Nigeria to America, they feel as though they have more freedoms among themselves according to laws and relationships. And back in Nigeria, many women look for stability in relationships, but when it's according to the text, it says that it's a problem for men because they feel as though if women are able to do it, then men should be able to do it as well. So Auntie Uju was telling Ifemelu about this post to see what her thoughts are about it, because Ifemelu acts a certain way towards Auntie Uju because she's looking for stability in a man. And Ifemelu, she hasn't necessarily depended on the man herself, but she has been in situations where it seems as though she is dependent on a man. So I feel like the excerpt relates back to the text and is being portrayed as to where women feel as though they need men in their life. However, in America it's saying that, and the text is saying that when women get to America from Nigeria, they're able to do what they want because they have more freedom among themselves, and men are able to do the same, but they're saying that if it was the same in Nigeria, then women, if they had the laws that protected the women, then it would be just as many divorces happening in Nigeria as it was in America. So I feel like that Ifemelu may not agree with this as much, but she might. So Auntie Uju, she was dating this man. Well, she was dating a man, and she wanted to date him because he had a nice life or whatever, living lavish. So I feel as though she wanted to interact with him because she needed stability in her life, and she needed someone to protect her, quote unquote, as the general has. So maybe she's feeling that she needs that security once again in her life, and she's trying to persuade Ifemelu that there's nothing wrong with that, and women need stability in their life. When you're thinking about how it talks about the relationship between men and women, if you think about how things are in Nigeria, many women look for men who are able to support them, and they feel as though they need to keep that man in their life and make sure that everything is going okay so that they don't lose him. And in America, they feel as though things are loose and women are able to do as they please and act how they want. They don't really need a man, but if they want one, then that's what it would be, since they don't have the strict laws hanging upon them. For men, I feel as though men feel like that they need, in the story I feel like that men feel like they need a woman that is lower than them so they can feel like they have a certain amount of power within themselves. I feel like for men in the story, that's something that keeps them going. They feel like they need to be strong. They need a woman that's dependent upon them. How it affects the characters, I feel as though Ifemelu, I feel like that affects her in a negative way because she goes through so many different things and situations that she's just confused about everything. So I feel like when she's put in those different types of situations where she's experiencing these different things and watching different people go through these different things. She has her own opinions about him. However, she's doing the exact same thing when you're talking about, when she's thinking about Aisha, how she has 3 different men who she wants to marry, and she's telling Ifemelu that she needs to convince one of them to marry her. Ifemelu, at first, she's kind of disgusted in a way because she has so many men. But towards the end of the story, Ifemelu decides that she's going to go and talk to him to convince one of them to marry her because she feels bad for her. And she felt like they finally had a connection between each other within their cultures, and so they were able to understand each other. While I feel that Ifemelu feels that the way Auntie Uju acts in regards to her relationship with the men in her life, I believe that she also believes that is negative because at first with the general, she was very dependent upon him. However, as time progressed and he passed away, Auntie Uju was not able to live anymore, so she had to pick up her life and move to America, where she had to do things on her own, figure out her way of life. She was capable of doing it while she was with the general, however, she just felt that she needed that security with him, which shows that a lot of women in Nigeria, they feel that they need a man to protect them or take care of them, even though it may not be the best way of living or the best situation, because many of the men are married with children and families this round. Okay, so how do you feel that the patriarchy system affects the women in both America and Nigeria?
I think the patriarchal system is implied in this particular excerpt because it really does illustrate, and it goes back to the question that I asked you about the central theme, that there are clearly defined societal roles. So when you look at the fact that the gentleman who is responding as the Igbo, Massachusetts accountant, he is suggesting that there is a way of life in Nigeria, and that women who kind of stray away from that have been almost kind of brainwashed in America or by the West, and that the reason he feels that way is because there are clearly defined societal roles, and any deviation from that is deemed unacceptable both by him and people who perpetuate historical notions of what Nigerian culture is. So I want to return to the original question. So what are some of the central ideas specifically that you feel are illustrated in that excerpt besides the perpetuation of patriarchal societal rules?
I feel like that is saying in America there's no certain way, there isn't a certain way that people have, there isn't a certain set of rules that people are, that they have to follow. It's the American dream. You can do what you want. Things are going to go as you please, and you're not really set to a certain standard or anything like that. You're able to live and do what you want to do. However, in Nigeria, it's strict. The laws control your life or your way of living, basically.
And what are the implications of that? Do you subscribe to the notion that's presented through this excerpt? Do you think that it's accurate? Do you think that it's appropriate?
It's not appropriate, however, I do believe that it's true, presented in the excerpt and in the novel as a whole, because I feel that in America, it's the American dream, you're able to do what you want to do. However, it's not acceptable because in reality, it's not really the case. You still have the government trying to control everything, even though it's not, it may not be what the people want, but the government is controlling everybody. However, in Nigeria, I feel as though it's like flip-flop, basically. So I feel like the government in Nigeria, they think they have control over everything, but I feel like the people feel as though they have more power in what they're doing.
Okay. What other questions do you have?
I believe that's it.
You still have a minute and 45 seconds.
Okay, so more questions, maybe. Do you feel as though Ifemelu's relationships in America affected how she reacted when she got back, affected how the way she reacted to things when she got back to Nigeria with Obeze?
I do think that her experiences in America affected her tremendously. I think that for a person who does not have a strong sense of self, I think that any any experience is going to have a tremendous impact on you because you draw from every experience. However, I do think that with Obinze, they were in a lot of ways kindred, and that they were always going to be what they were going to be, which is why when they got back together at the end, they used the exact same words that they used the night that he began to court her. And it's just that their lives have grown, they have gotten older, but their dynamic has not. Their dynamic remains the same. It's like being away from someone who knows you very well for a very long time. However, when you return, it's like you pick up as if no time has left or no time has transpired. And I think that initially, that is why she, well, initially and finally, that's why she returned, because she needed that sense of normalcy because she was so transient.
I think that sense of normalcy that you said she has, it may be good, she may believe that it's good for her, but I don't think as a reader that it's good for her because he's married, he has a family, but she doesn't see a problem with it. Well, at first she thought she saw a problem with it, but clearly it's not a problem because she eventually let him back in after all the time that they had gone without talking. And I feel as though Cozy, Obinze's wife, I feel like she shouldn't accept it to the fact that Obinze is actually interacting with people. I feel like that she should have just broke it off and divorced him. However, the women in Nigeria, they feel as though it's no problem that they have to just abide by what the man says or whatever. And they just want to keep a happy family and keep everything together, but that's not the case.
So I think that relative to the text, you have a solid understanding of the text and the way that the text unfolds. What you want to make sure that you do when you do this for the final time is that you fully address the question. So when we look at the question, what are the central ideas? Those are essentially what? Themes, right? So how many do you point out when you talk? Right. So you have to say it. You have to say one thing, and so that's the reason why I asked you the question that I asked you, because they look at the entire interview. So they'll be able to give you some points for the fact that you talked about it when we were interacting with one another, but you got to pull out themes. So patriarchy, identity, transience, love, all of those particular things, because all of those come out in here, right? When we think about identity, the fact that people could be brainwashed. When we think about love, the fact that, men marry for specific reasons. When we think about, societal roles, Nigerian women are, bound, and American women, at least this excerpt suggests that they're loose, right? And so all of those things are displayed, but you got to point them out, because what that is going to show the person who assesses your oral is that you are able to understand the commands of a question very quickly and respond appropriately. Okay? All right. All done.